What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, we're here for the podcast, episode 10. Took a little break last week, and by break, I mean we just forgot to go. So, bummer.
Whoops.
Here to talk about stuff in the world of movies. Got a lot of good stuff on the show for you today. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share. As always, go get some merch. Kyle's confused, even though I already explained what that stands for. So we're going to talk about a lot in this episode. We're going to talk about a lot of the WB stuff, a little bit of Marvel, a little bit of House of the Dragon, which is what I'm going to be referring to as Hot D, because that's what George talks about it. And maybe we'll talk about maybe a little article on Collider that was kind of interesting. So off the top here, we're just going to start with Marvel. Rumor is they're changing up their VFX world, and they're going to make it better for everybody. That's a rumor going around. I think it came from the direct. Nobody big's talking about it, but you know what? It makes sense. If a bunch of people are going to come out and talk crap, you're gonna fix it, you know? So I think that makes sense, don't you?
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, this should have been fixed a long time ago, and they should have been putting people in this position, but hey, if this is the wake-up call that unfortunately needs to happen, then that's the wake-up call that needs to happen. I'm hoping that this rumor does end up being true, and we see future movies, as a result, start to look better in terms of the visual effects, because if studios want to continue having all of these CGI visual effects be like the crux of their movies, then they should look really good. So I'm happy that not only that could be happening, but also that these hardworking people will get better treatment.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's pretty much it. I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It makes sense. They were never gonna keep this like crazy. Let all this happen. Well, they're not. They're a business. They're not gonna.
I don't know, man.
So sticking with Marvel, apparently they have their Fantastic Four director. Do they? He's in talks. Relax, people. He's in talks. The director of WandaVision, Matt Shackman, is in talks to helm the project. Kyle, what do you think about old Matty boy?
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up information. I'm just trying to pull up information about the guy. If I remember right, he was the WandaVision director. That was like the recent thing he did.
Directed all 9 eps.
So okay, yeah. In terms of how Marvel chooses their people, that makes a lot of sense. If they do a good job with something and they clearly have a good working relationship, they'll want them to stick around. And whatever you think about with the Disney Plus shows as of now, WandaVision was probably like one of their most successful and one of their first, and they liked what they saw out of the guy clearly. So handing him Fantastic Four is a big deal for him. So well done for him, and hope he does a really good job with it, because after 3 tries, it makes you wonder if anyone can do a good job with Fantastic Four. But yeah, you know what? It just makes sense in terms of how they pick people for sure. I'm curious about what the casting will look like moving forward with this movie, but it just makes me laugh at the same time, though, because I remember the reports were that Fiege was hoping to get a top tier director for this project. Like, they didn't like
Spielberg
name any names
was
or
rumored.
anything.
Spielberg
exactly.
was rumored.
Like Spielberg was rumored. Who knows who else was in the rumor mill for that as well. So maybe they did ask some top tier directors like Spielberg, and maybe they said no, or maybe they just said that and were like, or we can just hire Shackman. But it just made me laugh that was like the talk, and I wonder if there are like some fans who were really wanting, to hear like a big time director and are disappointed by it. But for how Marvel Studios works and how they choose their guys these days, it's not terribly surprising. But I guess I was assuming, I don't know, it would have been like the Ant-Man and the Wasp director that they would have eventually hired or something like that. But yeah, maybe Shackman will do a good job.
Who did Ant-Man and the Wasp? Didn't Peyton Reed do Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't Peyton Reed out? Is he doing the third Ant-Man?
Yeah, I think he did film the third Ant-Man. I don't know. I was assuming it'd be a guy like him.
I thought he is doing Quantum Manium. Okay. Yeah, so you think of like, they pull out these guys that they always talk about, great storytellers, right? That's what Kevin Feige believes in. I want to get a great storyteller. And we've seen it hit more than it's missed. Like, in all honesty, that is truth. It is hit more than it's missed.
Mhm.
Like the people that did Captain Marvel had not done a lot of things of notoriety. They'd done some small movies, and a couple people were like, "Oh, this movie's underrated. It's pretty good," but like they hadn't really done anything big. The Russo brothers hadn't really done anything big either. They did Community, and then they ended up
Movie
being
and
pretty good.
Dupree.
But now we're looking at them struggling. They have struggled with their movies. I've liked but have not loved any of the movies they've made since the MCU. So this guy, looking at his projects, he's been directing television his entire career since 2002. He's directed some solid things, though, some really popular episodes of stuff. I mean, I'm looking at, like, back in the day, Ugly Betty, which was a huge show. Weeds, which he directed a little bit on. Um, House, he directed 5 episodes for. New Girl, he's got episodes here and there. And Psych, so he's got, some drama, some comedy in here. And then like American Gothic, The Good Wife, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, directed 43 eps of that. But then the thing that stands out to me the most here is actually the last few things he's directed outside of WandaVision, which the first thing is Game of Thrones. He directed 2 episodes of Game of Thrones for season 7. Now, the second you say season 7, people are freaking out because they don't like season 7. But
Yeah.
here, let me. And I'm actually rewatching Game of Thrones right now. To the, just trying to hate myself some more. But he directed Eastwatch and Spoils of War. And for those of you who watch that, I think we can all agree that yes, when Dan and Dave ran out of books to adapt, the script struggled, but they also, I think, did a transition, and I'm going to get more into this on a Game of Thrones video I'll be making for the channel when I finish my rewatch. But there's a switch from quantity or from quality to quantity, and they do go bigger budget. They go heavy hit, and he directed some heavy hit episodes. That Eastwatch episode is a big episode. They're both big episodes, and then right after that, he does Billions. So to me, that tells me that he can do a movie because those are movies. Those were filmed as movies. Then he does something like Billions. He gets in on an episode of The Boys. He gets an episode of Succession, and then he gets all the episodes of WandaVision. So to me, that's a little bit more cred. That's cred that I'm down with, because that tells me not only does he understand comedy, he understands drama, but now he's dealt on big, massive productions. Because as good as WandaVision is, and it's a big production, it still was not as big as what Game of Thrones was during that season 7 height. And that alone, those 2 episodes, and you could say what you want about those episodes, but I think anybody will argue that Game of Thrones is directed well. It's the writing that's always been the big problem. And he didn't write these. So I'm okay with this. I think if Kevin Feige, the rumor was he wanted this big, guy he didn't have to monitor as much, maybe he's sitting back and looking at what did we just end with? Phase 4? He's looking at phase 4, and
Yes.
he's saying a lot of people didn't like what we were doing. Maybe I need to get back into some heavy control. Maybe not. Maybe he just came in and had the best pitch in the room. Maybe he came in and was like, I got you. Young guy. I'm okay with it. I like it. Any other thoughts?
I'm curious about
Plus WandaVision
who the
slot.
writers of this project are going to be. I'm trying to look through the Hollywood Reporter's articles now to see if um there is anyone here that hired as the writer. So I'm a little bit curious about that, because you're right. If, with all that directing experience, he probably could do a good job at directing a Fantastic Four movie, or, maybe even any movie in general, really, at this point. But what it will come down to is the writing, and having a writer that's able to not fully grasp, like, what the Fantastic Four comics were all about, or like what were the best parts of it, but just be able to understand, like, how to tell, let alone just a good story, And like you were saying, Marvel in the past has shown that they're interested in storyteller types. So, hopefully they just find someone good for the job that can pair well with the director, I guess. So, I'm just happy to also hear that there's some developments happening with Fantastic Four. Not that I thought that it wasn't going to happen, but one step closer to this becoming a reality, and I'm really curious to see Fantastic Four again. I was happy with the long break that we got from the last movie. So, yeah, hopefully more good news comes out of this.
All right, let's switch over to a studio that actually is really struggling, and WB here. I guess let's just first start. Ezra Miller is getting help, apparently. I think the latest rumor is he's in like a rehab facility center. He's reportedly talked to WB executives, released a statement. I don't have that statement here, but what are your thoughts on all this? Why look for that statement?
Well, yeah, like he is, or excuse me, they are finally getting help, which is good because they clearly are going through some things these past 2 years. But um, from what I read about it, it didn't feel almost authentic. By the sounds of the reports that I saw, they went to apologize to like the heads of WB because they finally heard that the movie has the potential of being just scrapped completely. And to me, that doesn't feel like they were apologizing for what they've been doing and the headlines that they've been having as a result of it, but and the consequences and the people that they've hurt, but rather they're worried that their big movie wasn't going to be released, and um, that just felt a little gross to me. So, is the apology really authentic? I have no idea of knowing. It's a blurb that maybe them or their publicist wrote for them and just released out there, but at least it's possible that they're going to be seeking help regardless. So good news. Maybe we won't be seeing them in the headlines with a bunch of really messed up things surrounding it. But I don't know. It just makes me even more ready to move on from this version of the Flash. I was already ready for that to begin with. After everything involving Snyder's run with the DCEU and it just not working out. Was ready for a change to begin with, but and I just am ready even more so now because it just all that stuff is messed up that they did, and it just doesn't really feel authentic to me right now. But maybe time will change, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, so he let's see here. He said, having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun undergoing treatment. Miller says, I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, productive stage in my life. He said that. That's from Variety. Um, and then THR, you're right, reported that he didn't really care about the press he was getting until he heard that the film might be scrapped, and then he wanted to make amends because he was really proud of the movie. Um, yeah, you never know with these cases if it's genuine or not, unless it's always easier when you're watching a podcast clip or something. I just recently, John Bernthal's got a podcast and he just recently had Shia LaBeouf on, and I saw some clips of it, and they were talking about a lot of this. Maybe we should talk about the Don't Worry Darling stuff too. Oh my goodness, we should talk about that. I'm adding
Yeah,
that to the notes right now.
yeah, we could do
But
that.
they were talking about the "Don't Worry, Darling" situation that's all breaking around right now, and it's a little bit easier to tell if somebody's genuine, even if they are actors, But yeah, I don't know if he's genuine. I hope it's genuine. I hope he's getting the help. Apparently, we'll transition into this too. Apparently, the Flash is testing great. Apparently, their screen tests are going incredible. Apparently, the rumor is it's some of the highest rated tests ever. Now, I know you giggle over there because you don't take any stock in this, but I believe these are not like the execs are watching and testing,
Yeah.
right? These are the actual tests. Every movie goes through test audiences. There's not a
Mhm.
movie made that doesn't go through test audiences. And they do get scores, and those are important. And good movies have scored good, and bad movies have scored bad. We've seen some outliers here and there, but if you're doing a bunch of tests and the movie's scoring high, and you're this new Zazzy boy coming in and taking over WB and you're ruining everything, he's probably going to end up releasing this movie. I don't see why they would scrap it, to be honest, especially if it's testing high. I think people will still go see it. I think most of the common folk can separate the art from the artist very easily. There's a group of people who obviously don't, but yeah, this is it's an interesting situation. You got other thoughts here?
Well, I always imagined that scrapping the project entirely was a last ditch effort. This movie did cost a lot to make because of its reshoots, at least from what I've heard. But um, it does add clarity to why we haven't heard an announcement of this movie not being released in theaters, only going to streaming, or just being scrapped entirely. Because they probably have had these tests for a while now, saying that the audiences that we tested this movie on say that it's really good, or that they really liked it at least, and we think that it will have the confidence to uh, be able to make a lot of money. So it doesn't. I mean, just how high it was testing, like apparently it's the same sort of scores that like the Dark Knight trilogy was getting, which I don't know what that number means or like what the sounds in those testing rooms mean exactly, but there is a reason why they're not that they're waiting to release this movie, and I believe it's being released next year. I mean, we'll see how that goes. This movie has been
Yeah,
pushed
they
back
pushed
now
pushed
forever.
everything back again. There's only 3 WB movies coming out now this year.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Crazy
that
because of their
also
tax
is
issue.
yeah. Which at this point I guess isn't surprising, hearing all the reports going around with WB and that sort of stuff. But anyway, when it comes to the Flash movie, that is like my reasoning for why they haven't made any big decision about like removing it from a release slate or anything. And if these testing numbers are as good as they're saying they are, then yeah, that makes sense why. So it's not too surprising, but um, hopefully things quiet down now and we can finally have this movie stick to its release date, because this project has been like 10 years in the making now with the same
Oh
actor
yeah, this
probably.
movie's been
So
through so
like
much development hell.
yeah, 5 different directors, like 3 or 4 different writers, if I'm
Then they
just
scrapped
off the
that
top of my
script
head.
though. They didn't, I believe they scrapped the original script by the first couple writers, and then Ezra wrote this whole new script. That is apparently what is actually happened. And then I thought somebody else was brought on to change that.
I remember the directors of Game Night were gonna write and direct it, and then all of a sudden Ezra was like, "But I made a darker script. Look at this script." And for some reason WB was actually like listening to what Ezra was saying, and not like, the directors and writers whose job it is to do that. And that's what made the Game Night guys leave, and then they brought in Andy Muschietti. But that's the last that I heard. I don't know if it is Ezra's script. I don't know if it's Andy Muschietti's script, or maybe it's the game writer's script, and
Mix
they
of all of it.
yeah, maybe it's a mixture of all. I have no idea, but um yeah, I do remember that report now, and I remember kind of being annoyed by it, just like, really? Like, I mean, Ezra's a good act, and this was like before all this allegations and whatnot were coming out about them, but I was like, really? You're gonna die on the hill for him to be writing his own script instead of letting actual writers and directors work on it? But
So
I
the
don't know,
actual
man.
writer on IMDb for this movie is Christina Hudson, who wrote Birds of Prey, wrote Bumblebee, which are 2 great scripts. That is who is listed as the actual writer, with the story by Joby Harold, who created Obi-Wan, Edge of Tomorrow, John Wick, was like a producer on those, not writers, but producers on those. He created the
Hmm.
story. So that's a good pairing to me if that's who they actually went with here. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, I'm gonna see this movie just because I gotta see what all the fuss is about when it comes out. But I do hope Ezra's getting help. But maybe new Kevin's coming in to fix it. Let's transition to that real quick here. So
Oh,
apparently,
new
rumor
Kevin.
is he's in talks. We got a new Kevin, we got a new Bob, we're getting a new Kevin. So it's Dan Lin who is in talks to become the head of DC. Um, Dan Lin has been a producer in Hollywood for a long time. Some big things are the Lego movies, all 3 of them. He produced, let's see here. Didn't he produce? He produced Godzilla versus Kong, which is a great movie. He produced
Other
all the
things
Godzilla. He
include The
produced
Departed.
Aladdin. Ooh, The Departed. Just rewatched that. It Chapter 1 and 2, which are great. And there's also the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., Terminator Salvation. That's gross. Yeah, The Departed. So I look here, Danny boy. Okay, there's a clip going around of him. Have you heard this clip from a podcast
No,
or an interview?
I have no idea. No, what is it? What is it?
He reportedly, if I remember correctly, was interested in the job of taking over DC, which I believe that's Kevin Tsuchihara right now. Right, is the head of that division.
Walter Amada.
Walter Amada. So he's going to be transitioned out, right? And when Walter was hired, apparently Danny Boy wanted the spot. And in this clip, somebody made a comment on this podcast or whatever and was like, "Oh, would you have gone with Snyder?" And he kind of like giggles. He goes, "No." He kind of says something like that or something. And apparently he's got big plans. So again,
10-year plans.
Well, that's what WB says. That's what Zazzy Boy
Yeah.
says. But if you're smart as a producer, you tell them what they want to hear, but you don't make a 10-year plan. Okay? You don't do that. You don't outline 10 years of movies. You outline
Make
your
it
first
one.
good movie. You make
Yeah.
one good movie, At the very most, I'll give you a year of movies worth. That's probably 2 unless you're Marvel who pumps out 15 now. But look, he's produced some great stuff. There's some good stuff in there. Some of those movies are not, I like. The Godzilla movies, I like. A lot of people don't like them. They're not great stories, things like that. He hasn't been on the other DC projects, really outside of the Lego stuff. So that actually for me is a bonus. I think you don't want somebody connected to anything you've done before DC. And I wonder if he is in talks, my guess is his pitch was great. And I bet you the things that Zazzy Boy's asking, how do we fix? You're going to be our Kevin Feige. How do we fix the DC universe? And my guess is he had the best pitch of how to fix it. They've signed Matt Reeves up. He's got a partner he's writing now the second Batman with. That was a good start. Did he write the first Batman by himself? A little side thing here.
Pretty sure. That's what I remember.
Oh, so they don't have faith in him, is what you're saying. Bringing in somebody else, you don't have faith. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a little weird that they brought in a writing partner, but let's double check that to make sure we're not.
He wrote it with Peter Craig.
Oh,
He
so is
wrote
this
it
a
the
different
first
guy
one with
then?
Peter Craig, who made the story for Top Gun Maverick, helped with the script for the Batman. Yeah, I don't know if this is a different guy or not. Let's see here. It's probably going to be
Good thing we
on.
did our research on the podcast.
Who gives a crap? Let's see.
No, it's
Oh, they got
authentic. It's
no
more in the
info on
moment.
IMDb. Yeah, he's writing it with another dude. I mean, if he wrote it by himself, I think there's a little bit of hesitation when you suddenly have a writing partner. But if he wrote it with somebody else and he's getting a different partner, I don't think that's a big deal. What do you think about the new head, the possible new Kevin Feige?
Oh, well, obviously, they finally got the guy. He's the guy. He's new Kevin. Lock it up now. No,
My God.
no. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he clearly just has a lot of expertise in the industry. Obviously, he's done many good things as a producer, many good projects, and I'm sure if I look deeper into his filmography, there's some stinkers in there as well. That's just the thing when it comes to these. Not, every person in the industry is going to have something great and amazing constantly on their resume. There's always going to be some stinkers. So, all I have to really say is I hope he does a really good job, and I hope that we get off to a great new start. But you can list the credentials of all these people all you want, but it doesn't, sway me on if this is the guy, this is the choice. Because, Walter Hamada was also the guy and a good choice. And, sometimes changes happen and sometimes things don't work out. You just never know. So Um, he's not exactly Kevin Feige. He doesn't probably know everything about the DC comics or about every into like the deep lore of everything, but at least he has some business sense, and at least he's been around Warner Bros. And been seeing the superhero landscape to where he probably could have good ideas, and he probably could have good ways of switching up and moving away from the previous regimes that we've been seeing. So hopefully he does a good job. But you just never know with producers or just most people in Hollywood that they have some good things and they have some bad things, and we just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see how things progress. But like you were
So
saying,
real
Alex,
quick,
just make one good movie, then move on, go make another good movie, and we'll see how things trickle out from there.
so he's writing it with Mattson Tomlin, who wrote
Okay.
this movie called The Sea Beast, an animated movie. He was a story consultant. He wrote this movie called Mother Android, never heard of. This movie called Little
Hmm.
Fish, never heard of. He wrote Power Project, which came out a couple years ago with Jamie Foxx. I believe it was a Netflix film, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Everything else is short screenplays, stuff I've never heard of. So maybe he's a friend of Matt Reeves. We don't really know how, but I'm not too worried about that. With Reeves at the helm, it'll be all right. Yeah, you're right. Make a good film. That's what matters. It doesn't matter who's in charge if you make a good film. And we don't need a DC extended universe anymore. We don't. We don't need it. There's a big fan group who's done with Marvel. It feels like they hate everything Marvel puts out, but Black Panther will bring them right back in because that trailer in front of 3 years of longing
Woo.
looked incredible again.
Hmm.
uh so good. All right, let's take a little side tangent here. I want to talk about this Don't Worry Darling stuff. You know a lot about this, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I've I've been
Okay,
following it.
let me tell you what I know because I haven't been following it well, and then you can fill in the gaps. Okay,
Okay, let's
here's
do
what
it.
I know. Okay, I heard there were rumors that Olivia Wilde was pretty mean to Florence Pugh on set. I heard there were rumors that she was like bullying her on set, and that some of the sex scenes get a little too intimate at times and things like that. Right? Florence then later came out and then there were rumors that she was sleeping with Harry Styles before Harry got with Olivia, and then Olivia is all that crazy stuff I heard too. Uh, don't know about that, but then Florence makes all these posts, talks how proud of the movie she is, blah blah blah. Harry does too. Olivia does too. Olivia talks about how the women orgasm in this movie. It's all about women, women, women. It's not a women against movie, even though the rumors are that it is a women against movie. That there's some pretty intense stuff that things are glorified, some dark stuff that's glorified when it shouldn't be, and people are like, "How would a woman director do that?" Obviously, we haven't seen the movie. We don't know if that's true. They're all rumors. Um, and then recently it came out that Florence Pugh is not going to be doing press outside of just I believe, the Venice Film Festival, where it'll show, and that's it. She's only going to do press there. She won't do press anywhere else. There were rumors beforehand that she refused to do press with Harry or anybody else in the cast. That's now confirmed. She won't be doing press outside of Venice. And then just literally 2 days from when we're filming ago, Shia LaBeouf then in the news. I don't know if it was on John Bernthal's podcast where he said it. I know he was on that podcast just a little bit ago, but he talked about how he did not get fired from the movie because he was supposed to have Harry Styles' role. He quit, and he quit because of the lack of rehearsal time. And the reports are he has text messages to prove that. And I don't know if he
And
showed them or
videos.
not. And videos.
Video
And then
leaked.
the only video I saw was the one of Olivia Wilde saying, "Hey, I want to
Mhm.
work this out. This isn't done yet." Says if we can work it out with Flo, and people
Miss
assume that
Flo.
is Miss Flo, that they are talking about Florence Pugh. Um,
Yeah.
what am I missing there? What am I missing? Fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I mean for me it started with the rumors that Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh didn't get along. But I
Mm,
was getting the sense that it was coming from Harry Styles fans who were like
crazy.
angry
Yeah.
at Olivia Wilde because she is or was dating Harry
They not
Styles.
dating
Just
anymore?
by the sounds of them, what?
They not dating anymore, huh? You made it sound like they're
I don't
done.
know. I don't know. I have
Kyle.
no idea. Um, but just by the sounds of what I was hearing in these rumors on like Twitter, it sounded like um they were upset that the two of them were dating, and somehow that correlated with her and Florence Pugh hating each other. Um, and then the article, I think it was from Rolling Stone or Variety, something like that. It was like an interview with Olivia Wilde. She talked about things such as like the CinemaCon
They're
debacle where she
still
got
together.
handed custody papers. Talked and also was talking about um, the movie, saying that the rumors of her and Florence Pugh not getting along were false and completely untrue,
Mm-hmm.
and that when it comes to Shia LaBeouf's leaving of the movie, that it was just a decision that she made to fire him because she wanted it to be pretty much a safe space. It's her job as a director to make sure that um her cast and crew all feel safe on the set. And Shia LaBeouf does, these aren't her words, but Shia does have a tendency to kind of be, intense when it comes to him working on a movie and just life in general. And I mean, a few days afterwards, or maybe a couple months afterwards, like he did have to go to rehab. Um, so yeah, okay, I get where
Rooting
she
for you,
was coming
Shia.
from when she said that. But then days after, Shia LaBeouf hits out to like Variety and goes, "No, I wasn't fired from her. Like I quit, and she tried to get me back." And then he sent out like the text messages that or the emails that they exchanged about um him deciding to make that decision, like you were saying, Alex, because of the lack of rehearsal time. And he also sent out that video to them, and that got leaked with Olivia Wilde kind of saying like she was trying to really get to work with Shia LaBeouf and trying to get with to make it work with Florence Pugh as well. And it just
Hang on. Time
became
out.
yeah. Go ahead.
I want to expand on that point for a second. So,
Sure.
is the thought then at this point that Shia wanted more rehearsal time just in general, or for the intimate scenes, and Florence was against that? Is that what we're looking at here?
I mean, it could be no description was given as to what that meant. I mean, it could be just rehearsal time in general, or it could be rehearsal time for the intimate scenes, and maybe that could be why Florence possibly wasn't comfortable. Which is fair,
Yeah, I
but
feel like
nothing is
intimate
confirmed about
scenes
that.
should be, I went to film school for a while. I was a part of some movies that we made, some little movies, obviously different scale here, but they had intimate scenes. And I remember like they were just like, okay, and then when we actually film this, this is what we're going to do. And hopefully we can get it in a quick take so it's not, weird. Well, I was on good
Hmm.
sets. Some people at that school were not appropriate. Uh, Hollywood trickles all the way down. Um, but I feel like that's what you would do in a rehearsal, right? That's what I would do in a rehearsal. I'd be like, all right, and then Shia LaBeouf would take her dress off. We're not going to do that today. Let's do that with a closed set where it's appropriate, where we're actually filming, and then we'll maybe if you both are comfortable, we can do a quick rehearsal right before we actually shoot. But you don't need to do a lot of rehearsals on that. So I hope that's not what the problem is here. You know what I mean? Because then that makes Shia
Hmm.
look just as bad if he's pushing for like this is my craft as an actor. I need to keep doing this. I mean, he was in Nymphomaniac. And he had actual sex with the actress in that movie. So I think I just it's a little dicey. I'm gonna give him the
It
benefit of
is.
the doubt and assume that's not what Shia is talking about. That Shia just probably wanted more rehearsal in general for the whole film and wasn't granted it, or maybe
Yeah.
just romantic scenes, not necessarily sex scenes, but just scenes with Florence to kind of get the chemistry up. Maybe I'm gonna assume that's what it was, but we'll
Sure.
have to wait and see. But anyway, you can continue. I just wanted to get some clarification there.
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, when it comes to all this, I got the sense that Don't Worry Darling was kind of having struggles to figure out how to market this movie to begin with. So seeing this kind of spiral to what
Mhm.
it's become is really detrimental to the movie, and I do feel bad for that because I am excited to see this movie and I hope that it's a good movie. But on the other hand, this also isn't really a good look for Olivia Wilde as a director either. I mean, don't really want to dogpile, but if she's coming out and saying one thing, and then Shia LaBeouf of all people is coming out and saying, "Hey, this isn't true," then that's not really it's not really great to see someone kind of lying like that. And I think it could look being a woman director in Hollywood is already tough enough to begin with, and with this now floating around, it could be tough for her moving forward. So I really hope that maybe she just worded wrong, or maybe I don't know. I wouldn't like to think of this that she did decide to lie just to get a little bit of clout, and then it just backfired on her. That wouldn't be a great look. I'm trying as best I can to not feel like I'm choosing a side or anything, but I don't know. Just from the outside looking in, it's not the best look, and I feel bad because she already is having an uphill battle, as well as many other female directors in Hollywood are having an uphill battle to face in the industry. There's not, you know, they don't get as much of a chance as like male directors would, so I don't know. It also just makes me think back to all of the rumors about them not getting along, and I didn't really think much about the rumors of Florence Pugh not being involved in the marketing of the movie because Chris Pine doesn't appear to be involved in the marketing of the movie. Gemma Chan doesn't look like she's involved in the marketing as of now. Nick Kroll doesn't. So I just didn't really take much stock into it and figured that Warner Bros. Was like, hey, just sit this one out. We'll get it covered. But I don't know. Maybe there is something to it now because of everything else that's happening. Maybe they didn't get along, but they hopefully made a good movie out of it. Um, yeah, it's not a very good situation all around for anyone, and I just feel bad for anyone involved in the making of this movie because they probably did want to make a good movie, and I hope that there wasn't any behind the scenes drama outside of this where um it made for not a good work environment. So I'm just gonna hope it's a good movie. I'm not gonna try and get too more involved in all of this drama that I already sound like I am, but it just ended up spiraling to be a little more fascinating than I was anticipating. But I also don't like to be fascinated either because it's really none of my business.
Yes, it is.
It is.
So I'm looking at the Variety article too. I was listening to you here. So yeah, he sent a couple emails to Variety. Um, And yeah, apparently he said he couldn't find rehearsal times. He said, here's the quote, you and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find time to rehearse. And then there's rumors that that's because him and Florence weren't getting along. But it's an interesting way to say that you and your actors couldn't find time to rehearse. And then they met in person. Variety has uh, the whole email.
Yeah, he just flat out
This is
sent it all.
crazy. He
Yeah,
talks about, I have a little girl. She's 5 months old. I didn't know Shia LaBeouf just had a kid. Hey, congratulations, Shia. I hope that's helping you in your struggles in life.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he
Hopefully,
goes
it gives
in.
him a better outlook.
Here, let's this is skipping down here. It says, "What inspired this email today is your latest Variety story. I'm greatly honored by your words on my work. Thank you. That felt good to read. I'm a little confused about the narrative that I was fired. However, you and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find time to rehearse. I have included as a reminder the screenshots of our text exchange on that day to my text to Toby. I know that you were in the beginning of your press run for Don't Worry Darling, and that the news of my firing is attractive clickbait, and I am still, persona, I can't read that right now. I may remain as such for the rest of
Big
my life, blah,
words.
blah, blah. I'm just trying to get the highlights here. Firing me
Hmm.
never took place, Olivia, and while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the current social landscape and social currency that brings, it is not the truth. So I am humbly asking, as a person with an eye toward making things right, that you correct the narrative as best you can. I hope none of this negativity affects you and that your film is successful in all the ways I want it to be. Every blessings to you, Shia. Reading this, Shia sounds great.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, he
possible
sounds
it could be from him
respectful.
too.
This is his email. Variety has his entire email. They published it. This is his email to Olivia Wilde. Those were his direct words.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if it was like a publicist, sending it or writing it for him or something.
Oh, it
But
says here's the
it sounds
LaBeouf's
good, I guess.
email to Wilde sent on Wednesday. I mean, he probably had friends read it or a publicist read it. I would just to make sure it
Sure.
sounds good. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Wow. Huh.
Yeah, so
This is
if this all
crazy.
does yeah, if it does all end up being true, like I was saying, it's just not going to be a good look for her in this industry, really. I'm a
Yeah,
little worried.
she's been asked lately too. Apparently, she's part of a Marvel project. She is rumored to be working on something Marvel, and people I think were assuming she was directing something. I remember hearing those a
Yeah.
couple of years ago too. That's been in the works for a little bit. Does this kill that? You know, is Marvel saying, "Hey, you're too much of a stink right now. We're not going to deal
Mhm.
with you." You know, we've seen Disney cut people out for less. So, uh uh or for more, I guess. But yeah, this it's a weird situation. You know, I Harry Styles is a solid actor. He's okay. He was good in Dunkirk. What else have I seen him in? I saw him at the end of Eternals, and that's about it. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious what this movie will be. I love Florence. I think she's an incredible actress. She's gonna have an Oscar on her mantle, hopefully
Yeah.
soon. Um, I like Chris Pine involved in the movie, but I just this is all just a huge mess that just keeps going. It starts with just Olivia and Sudeikis, and then it when that marriage broke up, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, she cheated," blah blah blah, and then it just keeps going from there, and then it goes to her movie, and then it breaks apart, and when the memoir gets released, I might have to read that one. You know what I mean? Like I might have to hear what happened.
Yeah, well, Harry's also getting dragged through this, not just because of rumors that they were sleeping together during the shooting of the movie, but just because of a clip that was released on Twitter recently for the movie, and was him and Florence Pugh in a dramatic scene, and everyone was saying, "Yeah, Florence is acting circles around this guy. He is not doing a good job." Like complaining about his American accent and this and that, and I'm trying not to take stock into that either. It's a clip, it's out of context. I have no idea if the rest of the performance is like that, or maybe it just was a decision to have that clip that just wasn't the right one. But that's also something else that's kind of circulating and not doing good press for the movie. And I think this movie really is struggling to know how to market itself. I don't think the full marketing has begun yet. I think this interview from Olivia Wilde was supposed to be like the Kickstarter, but
And
now that
Venice
might
is coming
change. We
up,
might see
isn't it,
even
in
less.
September? Isn't the Venice
Yeah,
Film
like
Festival in September or something?
yeah, it's supposed to be releasing September 16th, the middle of the month
The
at
movie,
least.
or that's when the festival is?
The movie, sorry.
Oh, the movie's coming up fast. Oh, they should already start marketing more. But why market when this is your marketing? You know, all press is
Do you
good
want it to be
press is the
though?
old diehard of Hollywood, though. But that's the old stigma of Hollywood. All press is good press, according to Hollywood. Like that is the stigma of journalism in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like it is
Sure.
press. People are talking about the movie. People know the movie exists because of all this. Will it create a big group of people who won't, the Harry Styles fans are going to go see it regardless, no matter what happens, because they're stands of Harry Styles. They need to do whatever
Sure.
Harry does. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
very
We all
curious.
know
I'm
what you mean.
curious. I'm curious what this movie will be here. Some people are saying it's glorifying uh it glorifies like rape and stuff, and I'm curious what this movie could be because it's all people who haven't seen the movie. It's all these rumors, and then there's all this
Yeah.
drama. And if
The
she is acting
assumptions.
circles around Harry, all I'm going to sit in that theater and think is, why the heck didn't you give Shia rehearsal time? Like there must have been real tension. If you get because Shia is a great actor, you can say whatever you want about his personal life. Shia, if he had gone down a different path, would be a multi-Oscar winner. He's that good. Still should have gotten nominated for his movie. What was it
Indiana
called? Honey
Jones 4.
Boy? No, what was it called? Was it Honey Boy? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, he had the year of Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon, and Honey Boy
Those two
really could
movies
have
are
had potential.
incredible, and neither of them
Yeah.
really got any nominations, and they both should have.
Any love.
Um,
Yeah.
they both were amazing, and Shia's a
Mhm.
great actor. I just feel bad he's constantly struggled with his own inner demons. I root for Shia. I root for him a lot to get help because he's a troubled guy.
Oh, to
But
say the
anyway,
least, for sure.
yeah. Anyway, real quick, if you're watching this, I have not reviewed the first episode of House of the Dragon. I will. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna make a video We're going to have an honest conversation about Game of Thrones. I want to dive into season 8. I want to dive into everything that we're talking about. Now, I say that, and any fan who's watching is going to be like, oh my gosh, Alex loves season 8, and he's going to tell us we're wrong. Is that true? I don't think so. But I think there's some honest conversation that needs to have about it. I've been wanting to rewatch the show for a while. I've got an ep and a half left right now, and then I'm going to make that video. It'll probably release around a House of the Dragon, and then I'll focus back on House of the Dragon. But I want to talk fully. I have a big conversation about Game of Thrones. I liked the first episode of House of Dragon. I thought it was great. So yeah. Should we get to this last thing super fast, or should we just call it a day?
No, we definitely need to shout out this article, right?
Heck yeah.
We have connections.
Heck yeah. Hey, if you're watching, this will be clipped out too. My brother, Annie Essays, does great work working on his writing career. First article ever published, got a freelancing job with Collider, who Kyle and I grew up with. Like, I ask him all the time, like, who's your boss? Is it Perry? Who you talking to? And every time he goes, Al, I'm in a Slack with like 200 freelance writers. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right. But he released 2 articles, actually. This was not his first article, but he's gotten it's cool when somebody, breaks away. He's written articles for, Collider is starting to get a little clickbaity. Mark, you're getting a little clickbaity these days, bud, but you're still, I think, a very reputable. Yeah. Do you not agree?
No, I agree.
But I still think when it comes to the Hollywood Reporters of Varieties, I still think Collider's got that rep in there. I think as long as they keep guys like Frosty in there, Perry, all these people who have real good connections, they're always going to be really good. But it must just be that they're if they've got a Slack of 200 people, freelance writers, they're probably just, oh, this article's good. It's going to get us some clicks. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, but sure. My brother, Annie Essays, does great stuff on anime. And one of his articles, he wrote a review of Nope, which was great, but I wanted to talk about this on the episode. He has the 13 best anime movies for beginners from Spirited Away to Belle. So I'm just going to go down to here. We'll see which the article's great. It'll be linked in the description. Go read it if you're curious. But first, he talks about Spirited Away. We just reviewed that, rewatched it. I think that might be the best. I think there's a reason it's at the top of his article. I think that's the movie. Sure. If you really want to get somebody into anime movies, you know what I mean? Not the shows, but if you want to get somebody into anime movies, then I think Spirited Away is the quintessential correct choice. Do you concur? You've seen Spirited Away. Love it?
Yeah. Okay. I absolutely concur. It's for a beginner, it's a great summary of what makes this art form so beautiful.
Incredible.
I mean, it was one of my first anime movies. I'm sure you were the one that showed me, if I recall.
I did.
And for sure, I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
It's also it's got everything.
I kind of got it, but I get it now.
It's a love story. It's so funny. It's scary at times. It's beautiful. It's got it all. That's why I think it would be the best. I'm glad he put it top of the article. After that, he goes with Akira. For 1998, Akira. He talks about it being a little bit, he says it drips with style and has big ideas. And I would agree with that statement for sure. I think that's a good one. If you know somebody who's into like harder dramas, or action, dystopian movies who like that kind of sci-fi fantasy, I think that's where you go with Akira there. What are you having a heart attack? What's going on?
I don't know. I heard like a weird scream or glitch or something. I don't know what that was. That was so
Kyle flashback to the first time you watched Akira. You've seen Akira. Haven't you read some of it as well? You're a big fan of this one, I thought.
I don't recall seeing Akira, but I have read it. Nick actually was the one that lent me some of his issues, and I was able to get into that. I do need to pick it back up, though, for sure.
Watch it.
But seeing for sure. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. Like, now that he mentioned it in his article, I'm like, oh, I do need to watch Akira. So it's on my watch list.
Isn't Taika Waititi doing an Akira movie on Netflix? I thought he was the one tapped to do that.
I thought
somebody was tapped to do. Did he? Oh, bummer.
Yeah,
because for a while they really wanted. Peele, I think, was at first talked about it. They really wanted him, and he said, "No, I want to do my own stuff." But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. The next one is Your Name. Could not agree more. I've only
Yeah,
cried
just all
in
you.
4 movies in my life, and Your Name was number 3 on that list. It
Mhm.
is beautiful. It's newer. It came out in 2016. It's a romance. It is heartbreaking. It's awesome. Your Name is a good one, I think, for common. You know, if you're a little more common moviegoer, that's a great one to start with. Uh, Nick says it'll leave you with tears in your eyes, and it did. Um, then he goes to Ghost in the Shell. I think Ghost in the
Scarlett
Shell,
Johansson movie, right?
100%. Yep, 100%.
Okay.
If you think like it's he talks about how this is cyberpunk, you know, and that's what it is. If you like The Matrix, guess what they ripped off? Ghost in the Shell. If you like
With Scarlett
Inception,
Johansson.
guess what they ripped off? Akira. You know what I mean? Like they or Paprika is really what they ripped off
Paprika.
for
Yeah.
Inception. But they
Took inspiration from.
yeah, Ghost in the Shell.
Don't want to say ripped off.
It's the Matrix. So much what you love from the Matrix came from this, and the Wachowskis will tell you that. They're like, no, we are anime all day. I think Ghost in the Shell is a great one. You've seen Ghost in the Shell. We watched it before we went to the remake, and it is amazing. And it really is. It's the Matrix done better. And if you can say that, it's like, oh my gosh, how? You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. Any other thought?
No, I mean, the way you said it really stands to reason. I think most audiences have seen Matrix and haven't seen Ghost in the Shell. So if they do give Ghost in the Shell a chance, they probably will say, "Oh, exactly what you were saying. Oh, it's a much better Matrix." And then when they realize the movie was before the Matrix, they would even be more surprised. But they would also be even more impressed as well. Ghost in the Shell. For some reason, this one I don't remember as
We
well as
watched it.
say like Spirited Away. Maybe it just has been a few years, or maybe Spirited Away is just that amazing on that high of a pedigree for me. But it is a very very well done movie, and I was impressed by it. So I'm glad it's on the list.
Next, he goes with Perfect Blue. Did you end up watching that? We watched it for the club, didn't we? I mean, I did. Did you?
It was for a movie club. I still have it on my list though,
Okay.
but now
I uh, I
I
texted
need to
him and
watch
I
it.
said, "Perfect Blue's tough," and his response to me was, if you like real dark content, I think this is a great spot. And I think the more I thought about it, I was thinking of some of our friends who I know if they were in high school who lean towards more of this real gritty dark content that isn't fantasy. It's real. This feels real. It's a I think he makes a good point. I think there's people. It's about a pop star that people are obsessed with. And it follows paranoia and this deep down the your own psyche. It's a good one. It's a tough watch. There's some scenes that are tough, but it's really good. Next is A Silent Voice. You haven't seen that, have you?
Mm-mm. I don't think I've
Highly
heard of this one
recommend.
actually.
On
Yeah.
Netflix right now. Highly recommend. Our buddy Zach would also agree with that. Our buddy Zach Summers would agree with that as well.
Hmm.
Um, it's another little love story. It's about a bully who comes back years later and ends up falling in love with the girl he bullied. And it's
Cool.
beautiful. It's heartbreaking. It's awesome. I watched it this summer for the first time. It's a very good one. After that is Paprika. Have you seen Paprika?
No, but I've heard a lot about it just because of the Inception comparisons.
I mean, the hallway scene in Inception where it spins around, that's from he literally just copied it and just
Yeah.
changed it a
Wow.
little bit. Like that's
Hmm.
the Paprika is that. Um uh yeah, Paprika is really good. It's about a new technology that is created. It's awesome. Here, let me bring up the thing Nick talks about. He says this is the second Satoshi Kon movie. He created Perfect Blue as well that Nick has on his list. It has many similarities to Christopher Nolan's Inception as they both tackle the layers that come with dreams. However, while Nolan constructs a heist scenario, Cohn explores how dreams would actually look on screen. And then he calls it mystifying editing blurs the line between real life and reality while pushing the boundaries of animation as a whole. I would agree with that to the nth degree. Paprika is amazing. If you liked Inception, there's no reason you shouldn't have already seen Paprika.
Well, sorry.
Next, you should. Next is a movie called Redline. Never heard of it. I have to put that on the list. I'll have to put that on the list. After that, he talks about a movie called Belle. Belle came out pretty recently, I believe, just last year.
Last
Yeah.
year.
I have not seen it. I have heard a lot about it. I've heard it's very good. Might need to check that out.
I'm
The
just
next one
surprised.
is, go ahead.
Real quick, I'm just surprised that he put it on the list because it was so recent. But that must mean it's that good because YouTube breathe anime. I've known you guys for a long time and you live and breathe this stuff. But his channel is all about this subject matter. So I trust his gut when he's saying it is that good to have it on this list.
He wrote in the article here, he says, it talks about how it's the most recent entry on the list that has come out. And he says, Bell is a brilliant representation of how we can use the internet to make connections with all kinds of people and how we can use those connections to solve issues in our real life and deal with our own trauma. I'm putting it on the list. I gotta. The next movie came in 2015. It's called The Boy and the Beast. I follow my brother on Letterbox. I saw he'd watch that, and I texted him. I was like, "Is this movie good? I want to try and find it." He's like, "It slaps." That's all I know. It's really good. Don't know what it's about. The picture looks awesome. Looks like a monkey katana ninja man. I don't even know what's going on, but I'm here for it. After that, he's got Grave of the Fireflies from 1988, a movie that a lot of people think is directed by our boy. Hayao Miyazaki, but it is not. It was made at the same time by Studio Ghibli by his friend. It is a heart-wrenching movie. It is war done. It's like up there with Saving Private Ryan for war movies. It's that good. It's elite. If it'll leave you in tears, it's heartbreaking. I like that one.
The
You
style of
never
this
seen it?
definitely no, but the style of this I can already see looks similar to Miyazaki, so I can see
Yeah, by
why
same
people would think
studio.
that.
They were making
Same
it at the
studio
exact
too?
same time. Yeah, I think if I remember
Gotcha,
correctly,
gotcha.
they wanted. I think it came out around when they were doing like Mononoke or something like that, one of his other movies, and they said he couldn't make it unless they made Grave of the Fireflies. So instead of him making Grave of the Fireflies, his buddy made that at the same time he made the movie he wanted to make. Um, After that, he has a movie called
Hmm.
Only Yesterday. I've never heard of. I know it's. I know people. Or I mean, I had heard of it. That's not true. I had heard of it. Um, it's by the guy who made Grave of the Fireflies, and it's a lot more lighthearted, is what Nick says. Heck yeah. And then after that is Wolf Children. Never heard of that.
Cute.
But I got movies put on the list. I think at the end of the day, and maybe he said it, maybe he didn't. I didn't fully get a chance to read the whole thing quite yet. I don't know what's going on with my phone right now. But I think truly, let's see. He says, if you enjoy this anime classic, then make sure to check out Miyazaki's other work like Princess Mononoke and Kiki's Delivery Service. I truly think you could start with any Miyazaki movie and you'll be good to go. Every Miyazaki movie could be on
Yeah.
this list, so I think you're good to go. I truly believe that. I think you could watch Princess Mononoke. You could watch Kiki's Delivery Service. You could watch Poco Ono, even about our pig pilot. You know what I mean? Like, you could
Mhm.
watch any of those movies, Howl's Moving Castle, and I think you're good to go. And I'm glad. I appreciate that he didn't just do that because I think a lot of people would. And I think he did some research, watched some other movies, wanted to check some out that he had heard were really good, and made a list that I think is worthy of diversity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, hey, here's Miyazaki, and not that Miyazaki movies are all the same. They're definitely not, but it brings some diversity in style, direction, other directors, and I think that's great. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I appreciate the diversity within it as well, and his explanation. Excuse me, his explanations were very very good. Check out his YouTube channel and the essays if you want
Mm-hmm.
more
All
of the
linked.
anime content because he does have good videos. Even as a guy who doesn't follow it, I check out some of his videos on the occasion,
Wow.
and
You don't even
I'm
follow him?
always impressed, and I always like what I hear.
You don't even follow the guy? You don't even
I follow
subscribe?
the guy. I
Oh, it
subscribe.
sounded like it sounded like you said you didn't.
I just don't. I just from time to time I'll pop in, watch a video
Oh, and watch
because
the
it's stuff I don't
videos, but
know.
you
Yeah.
still subscribe though. Helping
Yeah,
your boy
punch
out.
that subscribe button
Better.
and punch our
Heck
subscribe
yeah.
button.
Yeah, please. All right, guys. What do you think of everything we talked about? Comment below. Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Join us on the Patreon. Go get some merch. All that good stuff. As always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.